Your mom.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about 10 titles that I think deserve a little more attention in the Western community. Most of these are already released in English, so you can find it hopefully relatively easily. One of the titles does not, but I'm hoping this one gets picked up within the year or two. That'd be really nice. Without further ado, I am going to zoom through the video. I'm sorry about the lack of updates. I'm trying to work out a schedule. Job changes and all of that is really setting me back. But here we go with the title. 10 titles. It's not a top 10 or anything, just 10 titles of anime I think deserves a little more attention in the West. So starting off really obvious, I think Dragon Ball. I know the brother of this series is basically the biggest mainstream title ever, but Dragon Ball itself doesn't have a lot of Western audience, and I think that's a little bit sad because this show, though it's very different at first, is equally good. A bit of a Tom and Jerry feel at first in the way they do comedy and stuff, but you can really tell the difference between the cultures because both shows are kids shows, and once you watch it you'll know that it's a bit different, but it's really innocent. Nothing is malicious or have any bad intentions. It's a show that comes from a safer age when people were less sensitive about everything, and there's a lot less going on in terms of social politics. So yeah, I think you should check this one out. If you like Dragon Ball, if you like Shonen, this is definitely a cool one. Next up we have Big Windup. This is a sports anime, baseball anime. It's a little bit more slice of life than stuff like Diana Ace or Major. It focuses on kids at high school, you know, doing that stuff, all those things that we love about sports anime, trying their best, being passionate about their work, overcoming themselves, and supporting the team to achieve their goal. That kind of stuff is still there, but there is a little bit more of a focus on the slice of life aspects of these kids growing up, and it's a little bit more relaxed, though there are some bits, you know, being a kid is really hard, and there are themes of bullying and manipulation. These kind of things happen, but overall it's a bit lighthearted, and it's kind of got a mellow pace to it. So if you're into sports anime and want something a little bit different, this is really cute and I highly recommend it. Alright, let's see if I can organize this together. Okay. Another strong recommendation I have is Space Brothers. It's available on Blu-ray in the West, and I highly do recommend. You don't need the Blu-ray. I think a DVD release would be just fine for this. It's a slice of life about adults and joining the workforce, losing your passion for whatever you had as a child, and then trying to rekindle that in your later years. These kind of things are very adult themed, and I think a lot of adults enjoy this. My parents love this one. I do too, of course. It's a really sweet show. It's got some really endearing characters. No one is a bad guy. Everyone is just a decent person. It's one of those animes you can watch just casually. It's really easy to digest. There's not a lot of huge drama. It's quite funny and really charming. The animation is beautiful, and the information is actually quite correct. If you want to search up some of the things that they do for astronaut training and all these other things, it's quite accurate. Next up we have Lovely Complex, one of my favorite shoujo animes of all time. This one was pretty big in Japan when it came out, but I don't think it had the same kind of splash in the West. I really like how the characters develop here. They start off as friends and stay friends for about half the series and try to work their relationship out, try to identify their feelings for each other. These kind of romance elements I feel is a little bit lacking, or maybe I just don't watch shoujo enough to know, but I'm too used to like the female characters who are from like, it's kind of like a Cinderella sort of main character, and then she's falling in love with some rich guy who's way out of her league or reach, and then she has to somehow change or better herself, or for some reason the guy falls in love with the dirty rag of the bunch. But this one is really good. They both start on an equal playing field, and they just develop their relationship over time, and I think that's really healthy. Yeah, highly recommend it. It also follows really close to the manga, so after you finish this, you can just pick right up. After they graduate high school, you can read through the books. Okay. The rest of these... Oh, one more. We have Ristorante Paradiso. This is one of my favorite mature romance animes. It's a smaller title, but the original manga is by the same person who wrote Aka 13 and House of Five Leaves. She's got a very sensitive writing style, and I think it really works for this josei series. It talks about abandonment issues, what love is, and it explores relationships with a huge age gap, basically like 20 years age gap. But I think it's really unique in itself. It's got a very quiet tone, like most of her work, and this author's work, sorry. But it's got beautiful food, really good-looking elderly dudes, and a really interesting angle on romance and just human relationships in general. So this one's a really hard recommendation, and I wish more people watch it because it's so nice. Next up, we have Mushi-Shi. I'm trying to go in order of intensity of themes and mood. So next one is Mushi-Shi, which is generally pretty casual. I think this is the biggest title of the bunch other than Dragon Ball. And this one is pretty unique for people who already watched it. It runs a bit like a nature documentary, but it's got some supernatural elements. Basically, the setup is that there are these invisible or kind of spiritual things. I don't think it's spiritual, it's just part of nature. And they're called Mushi, and Mushi-Shi comes around and helps people deal with phenomena that are caused by the Mushi. There's no villain character in this, it's just you versus nature sort of thing. Yeah, this one is really unique, and if you read that book by Hirohiko Araki, the person who wrote JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he mentions this one as like a very unique case of where the characters do not drive the story, and definitely it's really good, it's really chill. So if you're having a hard day and you're trying to unwind, an episode of this will really help, I think, with a cup of tea, or if you're not into the relaxing side of life, maybe this one is for spare time, to kill time, and some of the other ones that I'm going to mention will be better to help you wind down. Which one do I go first? I'll go Hakaba Kitaro. I think it's also known as Hakaba no Kitaro, but anyway. Not to be confused with its kid-friendly counterpart, Gegege no Kitaro. Hakaba is a little bit more dark in themes and tone. It's not... I would say it's for adults just because it's kind of hard to grasp the characters, especially Kitaro. He's a bit of a mission to wrap your head around because he is so alien and distant with what we've come to know as, you know, good morals and decent things to do. So as a protagonist, he's kind of ambiguous, and it's hard to get behind him sometimes. Kitaro is the last surviving member of the Ghost Clan, and he is raised by a human man through, you know, guilt and obligation. But basically, he is reunited with his biological father, who is just an eyeball now, and he hangs around and is the voice of reason for Kitaro, who just struggles to wrap his head around human customs, human behavior, and all of these things. He's not a bad kid, but definitely very cold and distant when compared to like human standards. This one is really interesting. It's got some horror tones in it, nothing bloody or gory, but there's definitely something creepy, and that distance between the main character and you as a human being also is a little bit unsettling for some people. With a similar vibe, we have Mononoke. This one is a cult classic. I'm not sure if it's so easily available in English, but I got this through a friend in Australia because they had a limited release there. So Mononoke plays out a little bit like a Japanese theater show. They have the little boom boom with the shutters, sort of. I'll just insert.
いえいえ宿を一晩お願いしたく
It's a beautiful show. It's about Japanese folklore, a little bit of the exorcism and yokais and demons, these kind of things. If you like that kind of stuff, plus a really interesting way of presenting anime and spectacular visual style, then Mononoke is definitely something you should check out. That's all I'll say about this. It's beautiful, it's a little bit creepy, and I think if you like it, if you appreciate art and anime, I think you'll really appreciate this one. Next up is a straight up horror one. It's called Shiki, and not to be confused with like the other Type Moon series with the character Shiki in it. This one is a vampire series, and they do horror really unique. I hate saying unique actually, but horror anime has certain tropes, and this anime kind of, I wouldn't say avoids them, but does them in a different order that makes you appreciate it a little bit more. I really like the slow build up to the eventual climax of this series, and it is one of the creepiest ones that it just makes you feel unsettled. It's not anything gory or like jump scares, anything like that, but just thinking about it, you go, oh my god, and that's kind of the reaction. There's a slow build up. It really takes its time. The first few episodes might feel a little bit boring as it tries to set up its premise, but everything is just so well packaged and well thought out, and the morals in the actual themes is really interesting as well. So definitely check out Shiki when you have the chance. I highly recommend it. I know the art style puts a lot of people off. They think it's a little bit like Yu-Gi-Oh! Mixed with Code Geass, but I swear to you, the series is really good. You definitely should check it out. Just forget about how the characters look. I know it's a little bit distracting, but it's worth your while if you like horror anime and you have time to spare to let this really develop. Alright, and the last title, I think that was 10, is Gambling Apocalypse Kaiji. This is the one that doesn't have an English release yet, which is a shame because it is the best gambling anime I know out there so far. The gambling anime library is really small anyway, but this one really dominates and sets the bar so high for how to do gambling anime really well. Season 2 I don't feel is as strong as Season 1. Season 1 is basically perfect. In my personal opinion, the gambling games in this season are completely unique, original to the author who wrote the manga, and the characters really explore the weakness of the human mind and how fragile a person can be and easily swayed into gambling by sweet deals or desperation. These kind of things just really make the show really good, but it is so intense. It's really intense. You cannot watch this when you're stressed. But if you have some time and you really want to marathon a really good series, Kaiji is the one to do it with. And that concludes my video. Thank you guys so much for watching and waiting. I know, as I mentioned before, the schedule is really bad, but I'm trying to settle and things are on its way. For the people who are still waiting for that declutter video, it's happening, sort of, yeah. I've worked something out and I will make an announcement video for that really soon. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Alright, bye bye guys!